The interesting thing is, how do you change the entire world, everything at the same time, to make people happier and to be less sad? That, if you like, is the ultimate challenge, because if one looks at the world, there are so many problems, whether it is water or education. Where do you start? So what I've tried to do, and my focus has been, can you almost come up with a model, a method that can help everybody? And therefore I've made my personal mission, my life goal, and the life goal of my company, Orcasci, is how can we help everybody make change faster and at a much bigger scale. What is it that we're doing? It's pretty much looking at how do you spread good things. So how do you spread things? It's pretty means how do you communicate and then provoke actions across a very wide scale. And to do that, it's pretty much engaging people at scale, so groups, communities, associations. To do that, though, one needs to understand individuals' behaviors and also what's actually going on within the mind itself. And so what we do is we have a toolkit, a method that pretty much works with a group or an organization that has a problem, something they would like to spread and spread more widely, and therefore using this toolkit then develop a method unique to that particular problem to help it spread. One example was almost like our sort of test case. I worked with within the YGL community on regime change. So let's call it that you have a problem, which is how do you stop a dictator winning a corrupt election? So one of the projects, a very early sort of test, was in Zimbabwe. There was an election in 2008, and Robert Mugabe, the incumbent, lost the election by 50.4%. This was designed. So what was done there is that there were about 1,000 people on the ground in Zimbabwe who'd been working for the opposition, and they had camera phones. What happened when the election took place is, by and large, most sort of corrupt democracies, if you like, are run honestly at local level. Any cheat at the back end is the easiest way to cheat a democracy. We didn't tell anybody what was going on, because we knew that if we told people it would be stopped, and we didn't know out of 1,000 people who was working for the bad guys. So instead, at the last minute, then imagine 1,000 people receiving a text message standing in front of the polling stations. I put the honest election results in the front door of the polling station. 1,000 people go click with a camera phone, upload it to the internet, use a technique called crowdsourcing or collective intelligence that I've pioneered before, which then turns pictures into a spreadsheet. And then within 15 minutes, we're able to communicate to the world press that we'd counted more than 37% of the vote in Zimbabwe, and we could pretty much guarantee that the dictator had lost. That would be an example about how to craft these techniques of spread, but used for a particular purpose there, and that clearly obviously made a difference to millions of people's lives. The Young Global Leaders is pretty much, this is the only organization that I've ever wanted to be a part of, ever. The people in it are exceptional. I mean, they're just, every single person, almost every single day, in every single newspaper in the world is there doing meaningful things. So they're brilliant. They're motivated, and they're motivated from multiple reasons. I think that the World Economic Forum has done a very good job at selecting people that aren't single-dimensional bankers, for example. These are bankers with a social purpose. These aren't also social entrepreneurs that just want to do airy-fairy, fluffy good, but these are people that have also developed sustainable businesses out of it. I think also, though, within the YGL is that there is a real community. There's a sense of family that has been created. And I think with that, there's a sense that we'll be around for a long time. Because it's a young global leader with sort of going up to the sort of 40-year-old sign, these are people who will be probably on the world stage over the next 10, 20 years doing meaningful, impactful things. And I think it's great to some extent, I think at the beginning you're almost forced to be together. But then what very quickly happens is you're not forced to be together, you want to be together and to sort of integrate all of these sort of sometimes crazy looking ideas, but really sort of create new things and almost sort of create new visions for the world. Looking at the YGL community for me is that it's almost sort of showing the art of the possible, because almost whatever idea you can come up with that you'd like to make happen, somebody within the YGL community can help you. And sometimes, I mean, for example, yesterday I've been developing a new concept around how to get talent, so celebrities and models. They will help spread messages to do good in the world. So, okay, do I know anybody that has a talent management agency? Well, one YGL directly does, and others do as well or have impact and influence. Well, you could almost say, well, how random is that? That particular need that you have is solved. Well, this thing already was almost sort of that, between having the idea that this is a need and making the connection, probably took 4 or 5 hours of networking time. So that would just be one small example. I can therefore see myself personally and for everybody else, these connections are almost sort of happening all the time. We'd be just beginning to bump, 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 bump at abundance. That absolutely makes a difference, hugely. I mean, from a commercial perspective, if I look at advertising in the 1950s, what happened there is that advertising and marketing took up consumer behavior, which was then a new research. And we went from marketing by saying, okay, here is some toothpaste, buy toothpaste, to all of a sudden you want bright, shiny teeth. That revolutionized the way that we as consumers engage with manufacturers and vice versa. I see, therefore, the science of spread having that same kind of impact. And therefore, just in the same way that no organization would think about not having marketing or advertising, I believe that this notion of spread will therefore be integrated into much corporate activity. I think then if we then look at the social good side as well, my hope, my expectation, and my life goal is then to help as many people as I can, as my organization can, about teaching them the techniques and methods, so that at scale, so that some of those things will directly impact the lives of tens or hundreds of millions of people, and we'll be able to point to projects to say that was inspired, that was directly from there. We also, one of the nice things about sort of the YGL type of thing is that we like to test and measure. So then, because then we can actually see that we've made a difference. So it's almost sort of part of the ethic and the attitude. It'll be cool.